Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome to the Water Cooler. So for those of you who are new to the show, the Water Cooler is a podcast about marketing, sales, and technology. We have over 100 shows on YouTube and iTunes. Each week we focus on trying to bring you guys advice that works. Now, a few weeks ago, we wrote a blog post on the website about 7 Facebook pages you should stalk. And we're actually going to be bringing on a little bit later on in today's show, we're going to be bringing on some of the practitioners, the people behind these pages who are actually doing amazing work. And they're going to share with you the strategies that they're actually executing on. My name is Jimmy Mackin. I'm joined by my co-host, best-selling author Chris Smith. Chris, let's kick it off though. Let's set the stage here because I want to start the show by catching everybody up with what's new in technology, what's new in marketing. There's a new camera, and actually let me set the stage here. Mm-hmm. We've seen this all the way back since you and I were in Paris for our event down there, and we saw this sort of trend of immersion marketing where people are now focusing on mapping the real world, right? So we've seen examples of this like with Matterport. We're seeing this with obviously Facebook 360. So the first technology you want to share with the audience today is something that makes this accessible to everyone.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. So this is the opening segment here. We're just calling it First Call, right? Cheers. Quick 10 minutes on what's new, what's trending, what matters in marketing and sales. Theta 360, Jimmy. Mm-hmm. This is a camera that as you're recording, and it looks like it's sort of just recording kind of like a normal camera. So it's a hardware. Yep. If you go to theta360.com, you can just go right into the chat there, please. Somebody drop the link. Theta360.com. And what it's doing is, imagine if as you recorded with your iPhone, you were recording 360 degrees. But then when the person watches it later, the viewer actually determines which way the camera is facing throughout the clip. So like there's some use cases where these guys are sitting around a poker table, right? And they've got the camera right in the middle. So as the viewer, if I want to look at these two guys or turn the camera over here, if there's a big bet happening here, you're in complete control. So I thought about it in the real world. Think about it as a real estate agent. You walk through the front door of a home. Your eyes are not going to go to the same place as the buyer's eyes. When you're a realtor, you walk into the bedroom and then the buyer walks behind you. You don't think they might turn back and look and see what the living room looks like from that angle too? So it's basically like watching what we've seen for years now, a video tour, like a real video of a home. But as you're watching it as the viewer, even on your phone in the browser, you can spin the camera as you're watching the scene. So if you've been on Facebook and you've seen these little 360 videos, like the guy surfing, and it's pointing back at him, but then you can flip it and watch what his view looks like. That is a Theta 360 camera. Scott Stratton posted about it recently. Sure. Max Pigman using it at his brewery in a couple cool ways. I would definitely take a look at it, and it's affordable. So cool.
One quick question on this topic.
Yes.
We've seen the era of sort of bad real estate videos. Like, real estate agents in a lot of cases struggle to do good 2D video. We've seen the Blair Witch style project where it's like shaking. What sort of technology do they have in place to prevent that from happening? Because like I can imagine a 3D video being like kind of awful if it's not shot properly.
Yeah, I think that remember when like GoPro came out, and it probably wasn't like 4K on the so I would kind of compare it to that, where this is kind of the V1 of being able to do this. So sometimes, like if somebody's at a concert and they're holding it up and you spin it around to look like their arm is cut off or something, like on Google Maps, kind of like the street view, it doesn't quite line up. So it's not perfect, but it's awesome. It's remarkable. It's memorable. And I think it actually is useful for real estate agents who watch this show. So
very
good
cool.
stuff. 360. Yep.
Yep. So up next we have, I think, a progression in the storage space. This is a little bit sort of, something you don't think about until it really kind of haunts you, right? Where you need a file, but you can't access it, or you have to download it to your local computer, and you have issues with obviously how much storage you have available. So Dropbox just rolled out a new product called, is it Infinite? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Project Infinite. You guys should all Google this right now. Jimmy, I think you might have a link to drop in the chat, but Project Infinite is a very simple concept. most of the people watching this right now, don't get mad, especially the ones with a PC, okay? Their computer's performance is often completely dependent upon how much hard drive they've filled up. And in real estate, these guys have so many files and high-res photos that a lot of them, Jimmy, they're now using Dropbox. Like, let us know in the chat, yes or no, if you're using Dropbox, just to get a feel for the hundreds of people watching. Yeah, everybody's using it. So the thing is, if your Dropbox has a ton of stuff in it, the point of that is that not everything's on your desktop. But of course, you're going to need to access all these things all the time. So what Project Infinite does is it puts every single file from your hard drive. If you have a terabyte, 3 terabytes of storage, it'll put it all on your desktop, ready to sync when you need it. So it's not going to take up any space. It takes up less than the space of a thumb drive. But you can now go to your desktop, go to your Windows, go to your Mac folders, have every file in Dropbox. And if you need it stored locally, you know, you're going to a listing presentation and you don't want to have to rely on the cloud to sync it, you can hit one button and you can have the green check mark, which means it's local. But you can basically go from local to cloud and cloud to local in a very seamless way. It's a really cool project. I think every realtor is going to love this update.
Awesome. Dropbox Infinite. All right, cool. So up next we have, this is a trend that we've been following now for some time. And this is pretty common when any social network kind of goes beyond its early users, like teenagers or coders or whatever it is, and gets into the mainstream, right? I'm not a Snapchat user.
Yeah.
I just mispronounced it. Snapchat, as you guys can tell.
You can't mispronounce that.
I know. But are you Snapchatting right now?
I'm going to show you when you get it to me. I'm going to show you why people love it. But keep going.
Okay. So we are inevitably in the sort of the trend right now where everyone is talking about Snapchat for business, right? Mm-hmm. So my question is, because I've seen like a dozen articles written about it. People are changing their profile pictures to it.
Yeah.
Where does it fit in the equation? I'm a business. Do I give a shit about Snapchat for business?
Sure. So it's actually a very fair question because, like, if it's like Gary Vee and like Jay Bear and like Katie and some of the people in the industry that we look up to, if their profile pic is a Snapchat pic, a lot of people are going to log in. But what happens is with Snapchat, it reminds me so much of Twitter a decade ago or kind of 7 years ago.
Sure.
Where if you were older than X, it was kind of a grand opening and a grand closing for you for Twitter. Like, you heard about it, so you logged in, and you're like, what is this hashtag? What is this at? What is this, DM? Like, the Congress people are sending dirty pictures on accident that go public because it was confusing. And so what's funny about Snapchat, what I'm reminded, is that it's so confusing when you first start using it. Like, once you're into it and you kind of get into the ecosystem, it's very, very intuitive. It's amazing. But those first few times, you're going to be so confused. I mean, you're going to be so confused. So is there a business implication to Snapchat today? I'm sure that marketers and coaches can probably use it to do some business. But the demo is really, really young. And the whole reason they're there, I feel like, is to kind of avoid their mom and dad, to avoid real estate agents marketing to them. So I actually don't think there's a big play for there today for our industry, mostly just because of the fact that, people who buy homes are not 16.
You just touched on something that's actually really important here, which is people have to be in the right environment to be sold. Mm-hmm. And if you're on Snapchat, you're kind of trying to avoid reality, not try to be in an environment where you're ready to be sold something to. So of course, I think like you'll see case studies like fashion brands, Chris, or restaurants. Like that stuff isn't the same thing as buying a house.
You remember the article that was like how geo filters on Snapchat will be a game changer for real estate. It's like, get the hell out of here. Like, yes, there's a branding play. Like their ads are so cool, Jimmy. Like that filter I showed you with me with the makeup on. Mm-hmm. The way they do their ads is like there's a movie coming out. They will actually have a filter where you kind of encapsulate it in the film. I mean, it's amazing. Their technology is ridiculous. So I would say that over the next 5 years, people may migrate to using it a lot more because it's just a little bit different and it's a lot more exciting. I think if Facebook were built today, they would have a lot of these features that Snapchat has that people love. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan overall, but I will not, it'll be like one of these things where realtors will go to Inman and they'll say, I got 50% of my business from Snapchat last year. And then somebody will look them up in the MLS and they'll have done 2 deals.
Yeah. Yes. And the other part too is that if you're an industry leader in some of these spaces, like most of these individuals have arrows in their back, right? They pave the way to kind of show you a pathway to maybe doing something with it. But at the end of the day, they're not the ones that reap the rewards. It's everyone else who sort of follows them. So there is something to be said about like first movers advantage isn't actually always an advantage. All right. So up next, we got 2 more for you guys before we start talking about Facebook pages here. This is a trend that really scares me, Chris. Because you and I have been big advocates, and you wrote the book or co-wrote the book People Work a while back about how technology should really enable people connecting with people. And there's one bit of technology, it's very Web 1.0, that's really emerging right now that you guys are going to start seeing on your radar, which is bots. During the F8 conference recently, Zuckerberg went kind of all in, talking about how bots can really help automate part of the communication process between businesses and consumers. I personally use one, Chris. It's very.
Spell that for us with your New England accent. Can you spell the word, please?
Yes, it's BOTS. Okay. BOTS. Yes, bot. Yeah, bots.
And the reason we're bringing this up is because when Facebook did their big conference a week ago, it was basically the talk of the conference.
The talk of the conference.
And so you're going to explain how you're already using a bot.
Well, let me explain.
I just want to ask in the chat while you do that really quick. How many of you have no idea what a bot is? Do you know what a bot is? Yes or no? Okay. So Jimmy, I'm just trying to set the context. No one knows what they are. So how do you use a bot? What the fuck is a bot? Sorry.
Yeah. So a bot basically is a computer program or computer application that is essentially interprets a user's input. So you write something and then it will interpret your answer and reply with a response, a smart response. And the idea is to really help create efficiencies in business to consumer communication. So Chris gave the example offline of, hey, I'm looking to buy a Hugo Boss suit. They might reply, oh, what size? He might say, 44R. They might say, what price? And then you see it's a computer interacting with a human. The problem is that human communication is far too complex, in my opinion, to have meaningful conversations and get insight. It's good for things like ordering. It's good for things like that are transactional. But this idea that somehow bots, which you guys are going to start to see come up a lot, and you're seeing people on like Product Hunt for bot applications and bot analytics. The idea that somehow that we're going to be able to write computer algorithms that replace human communication, to me, is both a scary trend, and I think it will be as abused, Chris, as something like a QR code. Really, really hot. Everyone got excited. It never amounted to anything. So that's my opinion on it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. Well, I think the way I could explain it to people is like right now, if you need a hotel room, you go to Hotwire or you go to Travelocity or Orbitz, right? And you put in date, time, price, range, stars requested, go. And the difference with a bot would be that you would go to Facebook. This is why Facebook's pioneering it. Because what they're going to do is they're going to build bots for all of us. So that companies like Joe Taylor Group can get a message to their Facebook page that says, do you have any new listings? And it can reply and say, yeah, here's a bunch, without Joe having to stop what he's doing. So, sometimes it's replacing, sometimes it's supplementing when you think about that human communication. So imagine if, I'm not communicating with a human already, Jimmy, on Hotwire. So if I could go to Hotwire's Facebook page and say, I need a room tonight, and they would send a message back that said, where? And I said, Baltimore. What's your budget? 120. Okay, we found one with 4 stars. Do you want it? Yes. What bots are doing, they're trying to sort of humanize currently non-human things. Okay? So it's not replacing human things. It's those things that you do on your phone alone. On Amazon, like as an example, imagine going to Amazon's page and saying, I want the conversion code. And they say, it's on the way. First, go in there, click it. So you're going to see that bots are going to be a big deal when used properly. But yeah, I think they'll be a buzzword for a while. Can we skip the last one and get into the Facebook pages?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to, you want to do the quick commercial here or you want to save it for later?
No, I'll do a quick commercial, just really quick. We do the show for free. We've done over 100 shows. You can go to YouTube, iTunes. We're about to give expert advice on Facebook pages. We're then going to do some questions here from the live audience. We're going to bring on some admins of Facebook pages. But if you want to learn more about what we do, our company is all about providing help, not hype. We talk about things that are relevant here on the show, but we also work with top producing real estate agents and teams. You can go to curator.com to check availability. You can also email Sarah@curator.com, but we're a marketing company. We build your website. We help you with your Facebook ads. We help you take the money off the table you're leaving by not following up with leads and your past clients effectively. Curator.com or email Sarah. Back to the show.
Awesome. So, all right, let me give you a big stat here. Right now, we know there's over 1.5 billion Facebook users, right? Somewhere 1.8, maybe 2 billion at this point. We know that 30 million businesses currently have Facebook pages. Of that, about 3 million of them have their card on file. So not necessarily actively advertising, just have their card on file. So here's my question, Chris. When you hear that data, right, how do you interpret that?
Yeah, the way I interpret it is this. 30 million business pages, okay, have no ability to reach, 30 million business pages, 27 million of them, 90%, have the inability to reach the people that like their page. Because the organic reach right now on Facebook for pages is 3 to 7%. It's like 10, 15 if you're great. It's like 1 or 0 if you suck. And so if there's 30 million pages, but only 3 million have a credit card, what it means is that there's a huge opportunity to actually market before everybody else starts to. What you'll find is that'll be the gap that'll close, Jimmy, in the next 5 years. It won't be 40 million and 4. It'll be 40 million pages and 8 million credit cards. It'll be 50 million pages and 20 million credit cards. This is all coming. Please watch this in 5 years. Those will be the numbers. So right now, 90% of the people that have a business page on Facebook are not your competition if you're willing to buy ads, which require a page. This is not going to be a discussion about ads, but that's how I interpret that data is opportunity early.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me, and this is something I think that Seth Godin wrote a while back, Chris. He said, bring me your dead stuff, which is we're almost at the point right now where it feels like everyone's advertising on Facebook. But as you just pointed out, the reality is that they're not. And the few that are doing it, there are even less that are actually doing it really, really well, which means the opportunity is very, very much still there.
And that's going to lead me to the first tip, which is how is your Facebook page done until you watch this show right now? I'm going to have everybody go to a website, Jimmy, if you can drop it in the chat. There's a website called Likealizer.com featured in the conversion code. And this technology is ridiculous. You go to Likealizer, you put in your URL from Facebook, and it will grade you on a scale of 0 to 100. But it will also provide actionable changes that you can make immediately to improve your page. So it's an amazing, quick little gauge. Jimmy, what was your score?
Well, why are you bringing it up? It was like 60. I was giving myself a lot of credit. It was 40. It was 43. My score
43.
My 43 was like 85.
86. Don't say 80. But here's what it's doing. It's looking at are you sharing only pictures? Are you sharing only videos? Are you sharing only links? And it's actually it basically will kind of beat you up where you're screwing up. But then it will actually give you some very, very quick things you can do to make your overall page better. And you're going to see that most real estate agents, there we go, Carmen, 87, Billy, 81.
Carmen.
But these are curator clients with a strategy and a budget. Let's be real. Darren, he just signed up. He's at a 48.
Welcome to my club, Darren.
Steven, he was a full client. He came a half client. He's a 47. That must be what happened. But real quick, I want to give a tip. And then Kendall, Amy, we invited on some of the top. We got Michael Thorne, who's going to come on. Great. So if you're watching, Amy, Kendall, just request to come on. We're going to bring you guys on here in 1 second to basically provide an expert tip from somebody right now that's running a killer page. So if you're listening and you want to provide that tip and you tuned in, please knock to join. Now, here's the first tip I have, Jimmy, because one of the things, I've been managing a page for 7.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that has remained the same is change. I mean, it has changed a lot. The way it looks, the way it behaves. You used to be able to get 100% organic reach if you're clever.
Yeah.
You know, it has changed a lot. And Facebook made one huge change that I'm going to cover right now that is going to impact anybody with a page. And it's a big one because what it shows is that they care about more than just your ability to get likes, clicks, shares on Facebook. What they are now, look at these grades, Jimmy, in the chat, 58. Oh, wow.
Well, most of them are still above me, except
yeah. Well, it's okay. You know, that's not your job. You know, that's my job. Lexi, there we go. 92, Jimmy, for Lexi. That's awesome. So what I want to give this big pro tip on is that one of the new metrics that matters to your Facebook page and how much organic reach it can get is the time on site after they leave. Okay? Because you know how when you click on a link on Facebook, Jimmy, it kind of opens it up in a different browser? Well, that's a browser they built. They can track that. And so now if you click on an article on Facebook and you leave in 20 seconds, that time spent on your site is going to impact the reach of your ads. And not your ads, excuse me, your posts. So like at Curator, we do a bunch of content, right? Great blog posts. 10-minute blog posts. We bring on a ton of great content. And so our page views per visitor is 4 or 5. Our time on site's 3 or 4 minutes. And so it will benefit people that have a page where they actually put out a lot of great content. It will hurt people that do nothing but share, as an example, landing page links, where the time on that would be very low. So it's an interesting change. Time on site on your website impacts your reach on Facebook. That's a big deal. Michael, can you hear us, man? We can see you. We can't see you. We see your logo. Can you hear us, bud? As if there's any chance this is going to work, Jimmy. Come on. I mean, considering the way we started. Well, I added Michael. Hopefully he'll sync here in a second. We have Kendall as well. Jimmy, we've got some other pro tips lined up because we know sometimes the technology doesn't work. Michael, call in again. I'm going to kick you off.
Yeah, so one question I wanted to dive into here. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, Chris. So sorry if I have too.
Talk about Relevance Score here for a second, because I think this is actually important that we dive a little bit deeper into this as we wait for Michael to come on here. You're talking about if somebody clicks on a link that you share on Facebook, right, and they land on your site, Facebook now will basically say, you know, the longer they stay, the more relevant it is. What is Relevance Score and how does it apply to sort of this discussion?
Yeah, Relevance Score is actually completely dictated in ads, right? So they're giving a relevance score to an ad. And so like yesterday, me and John launched an ad. We thought we're clever. And the ad got a relevance score of 1.
Yeah.
What that means is that for them to continue to show that ad or for them to put that ad in the feed, it's going to cost more, basically. Like you want that piece of crap ad at the top of our feed, it's going to cost you more. That's basically why they're looking at the relevance scores. And so it's one of those things where hopefully people will understand that, you know, you can't just always get link clicks. Like some of the relevance scores that are the highest on ads right now are from a photo album. And that's because even though you may not get a lot of clicks on your link, you're going to get a lot of people to click on those small photos below the main photo. And that is basically telling Facebook people are interested in that. So Shannon had a question here in the chat, Jimmy. Couldn't get her on live, but how many followers? There we go. No, I missed that. Sorry.
It's okay.
It didn't.
Well, Chris, we'll call an audible here, and I'll set you up for the other questions here. But I think that just to put a bow on Relevance Score, the idea is quite simple, that the better quality your ads are and the higher performance they are, the less money you pay to advertise. So you can always buy your way to the top, but it just might be really inefficient and it might cost you a lot of money. So let's start with giving some advice here, and I'm going to share the links, Chris, as we go through this, because I don't think getting anyone online today is going to work. Joe and Taylor, the Joe and Taylor group, I want you just to kind of describe what they do really well, what's sort of their signature style, and what some of the takeaways are here. And I'll drop the links in the chat here for you.
Sure, yeah. And also, I'll try to get Michael on one more time because we asked him to call in, so I feel bad if it'll work, we'll try it. But as you guys saw before the show, there we go. Looks like it might work this time. So the
call.
Yeah, it's on. What's up, Mike? Cheers.
Called in on the phone. It seemed to work.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I had to do too. That was the workaround. So, Mike, tell people quickly about your business page. Kind of, what it's focused on, size, and then what is an expert tip, because you guys are just killing it up there in Canada. Talk about your page, Mike.
Yeah, sorry, you were breaking up there a little bit, but so we've got a page. We have a number of different pages, guys, but the one that works best for.
Yeah, Jimmy, we lost him. You see that? Yeah, we're going to have to, man, we got to complain to Blab, man. I don't think all this could be our fault. I don't know. We're doing our best here, guys.
In all fairness to the entire community here watching, we did do a tremendous amount of prep work for the show. Even though it's not showing, we did prepare a lot for today's show. More than we ever have. So,
well, listen, our first ever nighttime episode, you're not even allowed to get to because it's terrible. But really quickly, for those of you that have a question as we get to the last 5 minutes of the show here, if you have a question, you can just put /Q instead of calling in. So if you put /Q, it'll put the question over on the left, and then we can drag it in or we can reference it. But you were going to mention a couple of the pages that rock Joe Taylor Group.
Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat right now.
The takeaway from Joe Taylor Group's page is simple. Find what works for you and do it every day, okay? There's a lot of people that think that they can update their Facebook page monthly or weekly, but Joe Taylor Group has figured out that if we promote our listings with a photo album, with a link to a landing page, and we provide some great copy, we can get buyer leads almost all day. And so that's all they do. So I think about it like a pitcher. If you are a pitcher in baseball that can throw a 102-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle, you should never change your pitch. You're going to almost just throw that every time. That's what Joe Taylor Group does. They could obviously mix it up and change it up, but what the GCI that they're adding to their company, it makes it hard to even consider doing other stuff, Jimmy. You know what I mean? So, that's the Joe Taylor Group. Fastball down the middle, posts for buyer leads, albums, links to landing pages, but doing it every day for 3 years.
Well, I want you to share a pro tip here because Carmen set this question up perfectly. Carmen said, how do they have so many followers? When Joe and Taylor started working with us, they had around 700 followers. Now they're at about 9,800, closing on 10,000. And they use a tactic that we coach, Chris, that I want you to share with the audience.
Yeah, well, the way that they do it is when they boost their post, they're doing it for basically post engagement. And they're actually getting all those likes 2 ways. One, just the consistency. Because a lot of times it'll have their team in the ad, but you know how sometimes, Jimmy, you can like it right there. Mm-hmm. So they're getting organic likes. But here's the other thing, and this is actually a quick pro tip for everybody on the call. When you have a post that gets a bunch of likes, if you do an ad, it actually is usually reaching people that are not your fans on Facebook yet. They don't actually like your page. They might have just liked your ad or your post. And you can actually go to your page. Anybody can try this. Go to your page right now. Go to your Facebook Insights and pull up your most popular post of all time. So you go to Facebook Insights, you click on posts, and you sort by engagement. And you're looking for your most engaging post of all time, which is easy to find. And what you can do is you can invite the people who like your post to like your page, okay? So meaning if Joe Taylor Group boosts a post with a listing in it, and it's got the beautiful pictures, and it gets 321 likes on the post, if he goes to his page and clicks on those names, a little box pops up that says, invite this person to like your page. Now, the reason this is important is that you're able to then invite someone to like your page for free who just liked a post from your page. So that is a way for free to grow the number of likes you have. Instead of just inviting your friends and your high school buddies, invite the people who like your posts. It's a big pro tip. I want to see people do that.
Yeah, and Carmen was asking you earlier, she's like, well, are they spending a lot of money? It looks like they're spending a lot basically to achieve this. Carmen, this is something that we talk a lot about, which we call escape velocity, which is if you're going to be advertising on Facebook, and let's say you have a set budget, $300, $400, $500, we don't encourage you to spend like $5 or $10 or $20 on a post, because you might not hit that point in your marketplace where you're reaching enough people to get that social activity Chris is talking about. So one of the ahas we've uncovered in the last year is, I think of Amy Youngren as a good example. Sarah came on the show a little while back talking about the value of this, is that they were seeing like 5x the results off of like $70 versus like $30. So you have to find in your market, what is that advertising minimum threshold that I have to basically invest in to get that escape velocity, to get those likes, to get those clicks, to get that engagement, and ultimately Chris is suggesting here, get more people to actually like your page. So great tip there, Chris. Let's keep it rolling here. Just to mix it up here, Kendall Young, one of our very, very first guests of the water cooler 3.5 years ago. Kendall Young, we featured her on the blog on her 7 Facebook pages worth stalking. Describe her style. Talk about what you love about what she's doing and what are some of the takeaways there.
Yeah, so if Joe Taylor Group's kind of, a relief pitcher that throws fastballs, Kendall is definitely more of somebody that has more than one pitch. So she definitely promotes her listings. She does a lot of video. She does a lot of posts about things happening in the community. She does a lot of posts where she links over to articles that she's written. I would say Kendall is more of sort of a 4 or 5 pitch pitcher, And the other thing that comes across in Kendall's page is that she definitely has a passion for managing her page. Like you mentioned that my page scores pretty well. Well, I have a passion for sharing the content that we promote.
You mentioned that. I did not mention that. But keep going.
Well, when we mentioned earlier our scores and we realized that mine was double. Like part of the reason for that is I genuinely enjoy updating my Facebook page. Like when I go on stage, like I brought my kids to work this week and I took a bunch of pictures, put an album, right? Boosted the post. When I'm teaching the top long and foster agents and I do a selfie, like people love that kind of stuff too. And so I like the idea that even though I do ads, because I manage my page all the time, Jimmy, some of my stuff, I get 8, 10, 15,000 people reached. I get hundreds of likes, hundreds of clicks to my website, our website, and I get that all for free. So the difference is if you're an ad machine, you just don't get the organic kick. You get the organic kick in likes, not so much in reach. When you mix it up and you're a little bit more well-rounded, right? Like Kindle, you're going to have people on your site. You're going to have people. But you know what's funny? The Lanier Group, the urban lifestyle group in Toronto, right? Am I saying that right, Jimmy? I don't want to mess that up for Amy. So if you guys go to the post, why don't you drop the link really quick, Jimmy, to the post that we based the show on? Because what all of these pages do well is quality and consistency. But there's just a million takeaways if you just go to their page, like their page. That was another pro tip is if you go to your page and click on Insights, there's a thing called Pages to Watch. And what I would do is I would basically have every Kendall and Joe and Amy that I could find, but then I'd have my local competition in there too to keep an eye on what they were doing. And then the only other tip I wanted to share, Jimmy, I think this one's really cool. Our buddy Harry Hasburn taught us this one. I thought this was really sharp. Is once you find, like for Joe Taylor as the example here, they have listing ads that they've boosted that reached 48,000 people, that generated 1,600 clicks to the listing, that had 500 likes and 200 comments about a listing, right? Now, they don't get those results every time. But if let's say you're Carmen and they're going to spend, like you mentioned, maybe 100 instead of 20 or maybe 150. And when you do that, you get all this social proof. You get likes, you get comments, you get clicks. Well, the last pro tip I have for the show today is there's an ability on your business page to pin a post to the top. Mm-hmm. And Harry Hasburn came to our conference and he said, guys, here's what I do. I go to my listing appointments with my sellers and I tell them, I say, hey, we're going to do a custom Facebook ad campaign that is going to get your home in front of all the right people. Actually, let me see if I can find one that we've done recently. And he goes and he pulls out his phone. He goes to his page on his phone. And of course, he's already pinned one to the top that has like insane data. Mm-hmm. Instead of relying on like, I hope my most recent post did good, right? So you basically are going to pin the post to the top that has insane amounts of social proof for a listing. And then you can actually show that to a seller at a listing appointment, which Harry said people are blown away because he said everyone else is going to come in here and they're going to talk about doing stuff on Facebook for your listing. Here is an example of just a random one, right? A little salesmanship in there that we did that killed it because they could do that for him as well. So great tip there from Harry. I love that. And that pin post, I know a lot of people, like really quickly in the chat, is that a good tip to pin a highly engaged post to the top just for that purpose? Also, of course, when people check out your page, it looks great. Mm-hmm. But to me, this is sort of that place we want to get, Jimmy, which is I'm doing all this digital marketing that's kicking butt now. How can I get belly to belly with someone and let that help my business too? Great tip by Harry. People in the chat love it. That's all I got, Jimmy. What do you got to wrap up the show?
Yeah. Just one more thing I want to touch on that you touched on briefly. Pages you watch. Now, this is the tactic we used to call follow the leader, which is if you let's say you're following some of the best pages that we mentioned, Zillow, Amy Youngren, Joe Taylor, Kendall Young. What you want to do is when you're looking at their content, don't just look at the most recent post, but look at what is their most engaging posts. What are the posts that they're sharing that's getting the most reach, most likes, most comments? That's the type of style that you want to emulate. So I think for me, one of the things that makes it really easy as a marketer is that marketing right now is very public, right? It's easy, it's accessible. You can sign up for people's newsletters. You can visit people's websites. You can follow them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter. What I look for is I look for the best people in a marketplace doing the best work, and I look at their highest performing content. And that's what you can really use as the building blocks for any of your marketing campaigns. So Chris, you had a ton of great takeaways, likealizer, pinning a post, pages to watch, obviously the importance of relevancy score and the importance of time on site now with Facebook ads. That's all I got for today's show as well. We're going to wrap it up here. What you want to wrap it up here? Or what do you
I wanted to just say one last thing because there's so many agents that never do anything with their page.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they have a page. There's just a lot of businesses that have a page and they never check it. They never update it, but it's out there. And I did want to give one tip for them. You know what I mean? Because that's a lot of people. And they now have the ability to set up an autoresponder for your Facebook business page. So Jimmy and I talked about this. He doesn't check his page a lot. If somebody messages Jimmy on Facebook, they can now immediately get a message that says, hey, I don't get a chance to check this page a lot. You can email me here or call me here. So last pro tip is autoresponders for Facebook pages, which I think is relevant to a lot of companies. You know what I mean? A lot of companies are going to want to auto-respond and say, we check our Facebook page every day. We'll get back with you quick. This is an automated message, but stay tuned. So people love autoresponders. Put one on your Facebook page.
There you go. We'll be back on the air May 5th, 4 p.m. talking about blogging for business. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, everybody.